Okay, guys, we are back, and this is going to be a spoiler review on Top Gun Maverick. Okay, this is by far one of the best films I've ever seen on the big screen, and I can't stress that enough. If you're gonna see Top Gun Maverick, you have to see it in the cinema. I mean, they did stuff in this movie that is mind blowing. If you saw any of the behind the scenes on this film, they took a lot of the actors and put them in real F-18 Hornets, took them up and did just about everything you see in the film that the plane does. They did it with an actor in the cockpit, either in the front seat or the back seat, and they had IMAX cameras all over the place. It was amazing. Let me switch over here. Let's pull this over here. The cast for this film was amazing. Let me get that a little bigger here. We'll go through some of them. I'll tell you some of my thoughts as we go through. Tom Cruise is fantastic. He doesn't age. I mean, he does, but he doesn't. Playing Pete Maverick in this film, I really thought, like, how are they going to pull this off? How are they going to connect the dots 37 years later? I saw the original Top Gun in the cinema. I was 11 years old. It was amazing. It was one of the first films, other than E.T., when I was a little kid, that I saw in the theater that actually, like, brought me to, like, an emotional, like, place where I was tearing up because Goose got killed, hitting the canopy, when they tried ejecting and all that kind of stuff. And oh my God, that was just, and all the air, the air combat stuff was amazing back then. But this stuff, oh my God, Tom Cruise, he took it to a whole new level. I thought it was fantastic that they brought back Val Kilmer. The way they incorporated him due to his real life bout with cancer, and that he has trouble speaking now, and how they incorporated him with the text messaging. He was texting Maverick throughout the film, and I don't want to spoil too much. There's some spoilers in here, but I don't want to spoil too much. And it was just fitting. It was very fitting how they incorporated. I noticed that he's a rear admiral now of the Pacific Fleet, Iceman, and they call him Ice. He's just Ice. They don't call him Iceman. That was fantastic. The love interest, Jennifer Connelly, played Penny Benjamin. And if you are a hardcore Top Gun fan, you remember when they first, encountered that MiG, and, they were doing that 4G negative dive, inverted, and all that kind of stuff. And they come back and they get their ass handed to them, by the skipper on that ship. And he says to him, all these high speed passes over towers and one admiral's daughter. And Goose looks over and goes, Penny Benjamin? And he's like, and then, yeah. And then he goes at him, again, she's playing Penny Benjamin, the one from the first film that was only described in one sentence in the film by, Anthony Edwards playing Goose. And the love interest between them two was fantastic. You could see where, it was this ongoing, he would be with her and then leave her because he was just, he was always, trying to get away from this post-traumatic stress that he suffered with, the loss of Goose. And he could never really make it work with Penny. And then, and anyway, I don't want to give too much away with that. Fantastic stuff. Miles Teller is playing Rooster, who is Bradley Bradshaw, aka Goose's son. And the dynamic between him and Pete Mitchell, the Maverick character, because he's like trying to be the father that Goose never had, but it's not working, and all this kind of stuff. It was really good. The only drawback I would say is there's a couple of scenes where Miles Teller actually has like a flowered shirt, kind of like Goose, and he comes into this bar with sunglasses, and he just looks a lot like Goose. They gave him the same kind of mustache, and I almost feel like it was too on the nose. But I get that, like, in certain scenes, Maverick, when he saw him, it would flash him into like seeing goose in his head, and it messed him up, and it was really wild how they covered that post-traumatic stress. Glenn Powell played Hangman. He was one of my favorite standouts in the film. Loved his character. He was a mix between Iceman and Maverick in the first film. Like if you put both those guys' egos together, you got Hangman, and he was great. Loved that character. Monica Barbaro played Phoenix. She was fantastic as one of the female. All of the Top Gun pilots in this were all winners of their Top Gun class, brought in for a special mission that was led by Tom Cruise as he was prepping them for this mission. Fantastic. She was really good. John Hamm played Cyclone, I think was his call sign. And he was the guy, leading this whole thing. Ed Harris had a small part in it as a rear admiral, but he was good in all his scenes because he's Ed Harris. One of the other navigators, the radar guys that goes in the back of the F-18 to help the pilot out, was Lewis Pullman, who is Bill Pullman's son. He played a character named Bob. His call sign was Bob, which was his real name, Bob. It was like this inside joke. It was really good. You had Fritz was another one, played by Manny Jacinto. Danny Ramirez, who was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, played Fanboy. I loved it because they gave him, he's in a comic book. He's a comic book character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and his call sign is Fanboy. I loved it. I thought it was perfect. Jay Lewis played Payback. And let's see, there was a couple other standouts. Charles Parnell was really good in the film. Bashir Salahuddin was really good in the film. And there's so many that were in the movie but those are the ones that really knocked it out of the park for me. I loved that there wasn't like the first film, where they were just giving air cover at the end for a rescue mission of a ship that wandered out of international waters into some foreign country's territory. And a lot like this, the mission that they had to go do was to stop a country from enriching uranium and possibly having a nuclear bomb, and they had to hit this target and all this kind of stuff. But I love that it was like a faceless enemy. Like they never named the country. They never named, you couldn't see the people, because just like in the first movie, they had whatever helmet they had, and their glass was, tinted, so you couldn't see who they were. And I think that was a good way to play it. With everything that we have going on in the world right now, you don't want to point a finger at a certain country, and, you just kind of have this generic bad guy. Great writing, with that being said. Also, in the beginning of the film, there's this whole sequence where it just goes to show you. I remember when they first were talking about doing a Top Gun 2, it was supposed to be Maverick against a bunch of drones. That was like one of the early pitches, I think, that was going around. Because they were trying to say, like, Top Gun pilots, like air-to-air combat, dogfighting, it's all going to be drone warfare in the future, and you're not going to be needed. And so the whole thing was like, basically, the Top Gun pilots were having to fight drones in their competition. But that never happened in this movie. But in the beginning of the film, there was this allocation of money that was going to pull the plug on a secret aircraft that Pete Mitchell he was a test pilot at this point in his career. And it's based on a real aircraft and all this kind of stuff. And he, they were going to mothball it the day before, 2 weeks before they were supposed to hit Mach 9 or faster in this aircraft, and to fully fund a drone program to replace it. But, Pete Mitchell, not only did he wanted to defy the odds and break the Mach 9, he also wanted to preserve the jobs and the careers of the people that all developed this project. Because, if the project gets shut down, then they don't need any of these people anymore. And he was trying to say that, like, we need human beings, the pulse of the human beings behind this stuff. And so he not only did he stole the aircraft after it was told to be put down, because the rear admiral, Ed Harris, was coming, because he wanted to fully fund his program, he took off in it. And not only did he reach Mach 9, but he reached Mach 10. And the literally you're holding on to your seat like this in the theater as you're watching them. And it's some of the most beautiful, CGI filming of this aircraft, high altitude, going across the stratosphere, like just barely breaking into space. It's some of the best. It's just beautiful. The whole sequence was beautiful and intense, and you're freaking out. And I won't spoil the rest of it for you, but it was great. And then, I think one of the things that I loved most about the film was they kept the same thematic score of the original movie. And the opening sequence is almost like shot for shot, but with all new shots added in, of the aircraft carrier and the F-18's taking off and flying off, and then it kicks into Danger Zone, which was awesome. Like, you're just feeling it. You're like, yeah. And what's really cool is they didn't update the song. They didn't like put a twist on it or put a different beat on it or some different guitar, to try to separate it. Like, this is the Top Gun Maverick, so this Danger Zone song with Kenny Loggins has to be different and have a different singer. No, they used the same one. You want to know why? Because it was so damn good it could not be replaced. I loved it. And everything, just there was so much about this film that was just perfect. But the main thing I have to say is, I don't want to spoil it, because the first act is amazing. The second act kind of sets some things up. It gets a little sappy in the middle, but then the third act is just like, your mind explodes with everything that goes down. If you love the first film like I did, I saw it when I was 11 years old in the theater, you are going to love this movie for everything that it is, and the effort that they put into to put the actors in real airplanes and to fly them, and you see the G-forces and the faces are doing like this, and you feel like you are in like right in it. Man, I can't say enough about Top Gun Maverick. This thing was just great. Such a breath of fresh air out of all the movies that we've been getting, and with everything that's going on in the world, and just to just break from reality and just watch this movie, and to have that escapism. That's what the cinema is all about. That's what going to these movies is all about. And man, boy, did this movie just kick ass and take names. And I got to go see it again. And so I highly recommend Top Gun Maverick. Damn, this movie was awesome in so many ways. That's it. Let's talk about it. If you've seen it, let's talk about it in the comment section, and we'll see you on the next one.